Don't you walk away from me." Cassandra Langford didn't shout it like a warning. She hurled it like a weapon, sharp enough to slice through the marble halls and stop Naomi dead in her tracks. The folded towels slipped slightly in Naomi's trembling hands as she turned toward the kitchen, and saw the look that meant danger. Cassandra's heels clicked once, twice, then she spun, eyes full of venom and privilege. "Oh, look," she sneered. "The maid wants to pretend she matters." Naomi lowered her gaze, breathing carefully. But Cassandra stepped closer. "You think you're safe here? You think you're loved here? Let's see how brave you are in the dark." And before Naomi could plead, protest, or even breathe, Cassandra pointed to the basement door, then forced her inside, and locked it. The click of that lock silenced the entire mansion. What Cassandra didn't know, what she couldn't have imagined, was that the one person she feared most was already on his way home. And when he opened that door, the truth would tear the entire mansion apart. This is Hidden Black Echoes, where the stories of struggles are told, the rise and the voice of those the world tried to silence. If you believe that how we treat those with the least power reveals the truth about who we really are, tap like. Hit subscribe, because what happens next inside this mansion will expose a cruelty Cassandra thought she could hide, and a strength Naomi never knew she possessed. "Oh, look," Cassandra sneered. "The maid has opinions now?" Naomi lowered her eyes. She had learned early. Cassandra fed on reactions. "I didn't mean to interrupt. I just heard yelling." "You heard yelling?" Cassandra stepped closer, voice dripping venom. "Because maybe if you did your job properly, I wouldn't have to yell." Naomi swallowed, steadying her breath. "I'm sorry, ma'am. What would you like me to—" "Enough," Cassandra snapped. "You think Victor listens to you. You think the girls like you more than their own mother. You think you can stand here in my home and pretend to be innocent?" Naomi flinched. "No, Mrs. Langford, I would never—" "Shut up!" The words slapped harder than any hand could. Naomi took a small step back. Cassandra's eyes narrowed. "You want to pretend you're scared? Then let's make you scared." She pointed toward the basement door, a narrow wooden frame off the kitchen, barely used, always dark. "Get in the basement." Naomi froze. I'm sorry, what?" "You heard me." Cassandra marched to the door and yanked it open. A cold draft rushed upward, damp concrete, stale air, and darkness thick like smoke. "Go down there." Naomi's fingers tightened around the towels. "Mrs. Langford, I haven't done anything wrong. Please—" "Go!" Cassandra hissed. Naomi's breath shook. She took one small step toward the doorway, the shadows crawling at her feet. "Mrs. Langford, please don't lock me down there." Cassandra leaned in until their faces were inches apart. "That's exactly what I'm going to do." The words were ice. Before Naomi could speak again, Cassandra shoved her shoulder, not hard enough to bruise, but hard enough to force her over the threshold. Naomi stumbled down the first step, catching herself on the railing. Her voice trembled. "Please, please! I'm afraid of tight spaces. I won't say a word about anything, I swear!" Cassandra's eyes gleamed with satisfaction. "You should have thought about that before trying to play mother in this house." Naomi shook her head quickly. "I never tried to replace—" SLAM? The door shut. Then, click, the lock turned. Darkness swallowed Naomi whole. Her breath hitched. Her fingers slid over cold concrete walls. The air felt too tight, too thin. She pressed a hand to her chest. "Mrs. Langford, please," she whispered through the door. "Please don't do this." Her voice was tiny against the heavy wood. Upstairs, the children heard everything. A small cry echoed down the staircase. "Mommy? Where's Miss Naomi?" "Why did you close the door?" "Mommy, open it! Open it!" Cassandra shrieked back at them. "Go to your rooms!" Their footsteps scattered, some running, some stumbling, but their sobbing didn't stop. Their fear didn't stop. It spread through the house like a cold wind. Inside the basement, Naomi pressed her forehead against the door, fighting the rising panic clawing at her throat. She whispered to calm herself. "Just breathe. You're okay. Breathe." But the darkness didn't feel empty. It felt alive. Minutes passed, then more. The house creaked. The water heater rattled. Something dripped steadily in the back corner. Naomi squeezed her eyes shut. She was alone, locked away, punished for nothing. But upstairs, the children huddled at the top of the staircase, crying quietly into each other's shoulders. 3 small hearts breaking for the woman who had shown them more kindness in months than their mother had in years. And in that moment, in that terrible silence, none of them knew that everything Cassandra had done, every cruel word, every twisted lie, every second of Naomi's suffering would explode in her face before sunset. The moment Cassandra turned the basement lock, she straightened her blouse, fixed her hair, and switched her expression to practiced innocence. She walked into the hallway as if nothing had happened, as if she hadn't just trapped a terrified woman in complete darkness. 2 housemaids approached cautiously. "Mrs. Langford, we heard shouting. Is Naomi all right?" Cassandra didn't blink. "She left early." The lie rolled off her tongue like silk dipped in poison. The staff exchanged confused glances. "She never leaves early, ma'am." "Well," Cassandra snapped, her voice slicing the air, "she did today. She packed her things and walked out. I dismissed her." Cassandra kept walking, not giving them room to question. She moved with cold purpose, heels clicking sharply across the marble, echoing like a warning. But the first thing she did wasn't to calm the children. It was to destroy Naomi's room. Cassandra yanked the door open and stepped inside the small guest room where Naomi slept. Neatly kept, simple, peaceful. A soft blanket folded over the bed. A tiny Bible beside the lamp. A framed drawing the children had made for her pinned above the dresser. It enraged Cassandra. "She made them love her," she hissed under her breath. "She made them choose her." She grabbed the drawing from the wall and tore it in half. Then she started pacing. Pacing turned into grabbing. Grabbing turned into ripping. She pulled clothes from the closet, threw them onto the floor, and stuffed them violently into trash bags. Shoes, books, hairbrush, uniform, all crammed in without care, as if making the room look abandoned somehow justified the darkness Naomi was trapped in. "She wanted to walk out?" Cassandra muttered. "Fine, I'll make it real." Her breathing grew harsher, deeper. She ripped open Naomi's bedside drawer and found a small photo. Naomi with her elderly mother. Cassandra crushed it in her fist, then tossed it into a trash bag. Pathetic. She stepped back, surveying the chaos, as if proud of the destruction. To her, this wasn't cruelty. This was control. But the lie wasn't complete yet. Cassandra stood in front of the mirror and began rehearsing the story she would tell her husband. She refused to follow instructions, Victor. She became disrespectful. "No, darling, I didn't fire her. She stormed off." "The kids? They'll be fine. They're just attached." She practiced each variation, tilting her head, adjusting her tone, molding the perfect lie like clay in her palm. But she hadn't accounted for one thing. The children. Their crying didn't stop. Little Ellie sat on the stairs, hugging her knees, tears streaking her cheeks. "Mommy, where is Miss Naomi? Why did you close the door?" "I told you," Cassandra said sharply. "She left." "She didn't," Ellie shouted through sobs. "I heard her say, 'Please don't lock me.'" Cassandra lunged forward, grabbing the child's wrist too tightly. "Enough!" Ellie whimpered. "You're hurting me." Cassandra froze, realizing she had gone too far, then released her instantly and forced a soft smile. There. Mommy's not mad. Go play." But Ellie didn't move. She just backed away slowly, eyes full of fear Cassandra pretended not to see. Upstairs, the twins cried into each other's hair. "Where's Naomi? Why did Mommy do that? Daddy's going to be mad." Their sobs floated through the mansion. The staff heard it. They knew something was wrong. Because Naomi had been the only light in this house. And that light had disappeared. Cassandra marched back into the kitchen, slapping the counter as if claiming territory. But the house didn't feel under her control anymore. It pulsed with tension, every cry, every whisper from the staff, every glance from the children chipped away at her composure. "Everyone, listen," she commanded. "If my husband asks, Naomi quit. She wasn't loyal, she wasn't stable. Is that clear?" The maids exchanged looks, uneasy, hesitant. "Yes, ma'am," one said softly, but Cassandra noticed the tremble in her voice. The doubt. She leaned forward. "Do not test me." Just then, the youngest child, Mia, came down the stairs, dragging her blanket, cheeks wet with tears. "Mommy," she whispered shakily. "I want Miss Naomi." Cassandra's jaw tightened. "She's not coming back." "But she always kisses us goodnight," Mia sobbed. The room fell silent. Something cold and ugly twisted in Cassandra's stomach. Not guilt, but fear. Because no matter how loudly she shouted, she couldn't silence their truth. And no matter how clean her lies were, she couldn't erase what she had done. The house felt heavier now. Walls listening, staff whispering, children crying. And somewhere below their feet, in total darkness, Naomi sat shaking, her hands pressed together, whispering prayers into the cold air. "Lord, please let the truth come out." Little did Cassandra know. It already had. Because Victor Langford's car had just turned into the driveway. Victor Langford never came home early. Not for meetings, not for family dinners, not even for anniversaries. But today, something in his chest told him to drive faster. The moment he turned into the long stone driveway, the mansion felt off. Too quiet. Too heavy. Like a house holding its breath. He barely closed his car door before he heard it. "Daddy!" 3 small bodies crashed into him at once, Ellie, Mia, and Lucas, crying, shaking, clutching his shirt like they'd been waiting for rescue. Victor's arms tightened around them immediately. Hey, what's wrong? Why are you crying?" Ellie choked through her tears. "Mommy locked Miss Naomi downstairs." The world stopped. Every muscle in Victor's body went rigid. "What? Did you just say?" Mia wiped her face, sobbing harder. "She told her to go into the basement. Then she closed the door and locked it. Naomi was scared. We heard her." Victor's heartbeat slammed in his ears. Most men grow cold when they're angry. Victor Langford ignited. He looked toward the front door, jaw tightening, eyes darkening. "Where's your mother?" Lucas pointed shakily. "Inside." "She said Naomi left. But she didn't." That was all Victor needed to hear. He lifted Mia into his arms, held Ellie and Lucas close, and marched into the house with a storm in his stride. Inside, Cassandra was in the living room, adjusting flowers in a vase like a woman who had spent the afternoon sipping tea, not committing cruelty. She turned with a bright, fake smile. "Victor, you're home early." He set the children aside gently, then stepped closer. "Where is Naomi?" Cassandra blinked, surprised by his tone. "Victor, darling. She quit." Ellie stomped her foot. "Liar! Daddy, she's lying! Naomi didn't quit!" Victor didn't look away from Cassandra. His voice was low, dangerous. "I want to hear the truth, now." Cassandra stiffened. "Victor, I told you she became disrespectful. She walked out. These children are just confused." Lucas tugged Victor's sleeve. His voice was tiny, trembling. "Daddy, we heard her screaming in the dark." Those words tore the last thread of Victor's restraint. He turned away from Cassandra and walked straight toward the basement hallway. "Victor!" she yelled, running after him. "Don't you dare!" But he was already there. He reached the basement door. Stiff lock, lights off, air cold around it. The children huddled behind him, trembling. Victor tried the knob. Locked. Something inside him snapped. "Cassandra!" he said without turning around. "Tell me you didn't do this." She swallowed hard. "Victor, she needed discipline." He spun so fast she flinched. "Discipline? You locked a woman in a pitch-black basement like an animal." His voice echoed down the hallway, sharp enough to cut glass. "If this moment has you holding your breath, take a second to like this video and subscribe, because stories like this remind us that even in the darkest rooms, truth still finds a way to turn on the light." Cassandra's mask cracked. "You're overreacting. She's just a maid." Victor stepped toward her, slowly, deliberately, eyes filled with a fire she had never seen. "She is the woman who feeds our children, comforts them, protects them. She has done more for this house in 3 months than you have in 3 years." Cassandra's face drained of color. Victor turned back to the door, voice trembling with fury. "Naomi, Naomi, can you hear me?" Inside the darkness came a faint, hoarse whisper. "Mr. Langford?" His breath caught. "Hold on, Naomi, I'm getting you out." He slammed his shoulder into the door once, twice, the wood cracking under the force. The children cried behind him, clinging to each other. Cassandra screamed, "Victor, stop! You'll ruin the door!" He ignored her. One final hit. Crack! The door burst open. A wave of cold air spilled out. There, on the concrete floor, sat Naomi, trembling, hugging herself, her clothes dusty, her eyes swollen from crying in the dark. Victor dropped to his knees beside her instantly. "Naomi, my God!" She flinched at first, then collapsed into tears. "I'm sorry. I didn't do anything wrong. I swear." He placed a gentle hand on her back. "You don't have to explain. I believe you." The children rushed in, wrapping their arms around her, crying into her shoulders. Naomi whispered shakily, "I thought nobody would hear me." Victor swallowed hard, jaw tight. "Oh, I heard you," he said, "and I will never let this happen again." He stood slowly, turning toward Cassandra. His voice was deadly calm. "You have 1 minute to leave my house." Cassandra's mouth dropped open. "Victor, you can't be serious." "1 minute," he repeated, "before I drag you out myself." Her face broke into disbelief, then fear, then pure rage. But Victor didn't care. because the moment he saw Naomi shaking in that darkness, the marriage was over. Victor didn't walk into the basement. He charged. The broken door creaked pitifully behind him, and the cold, damp air wrapped around his skin. His footsteps echoed, slow, heavy, furious. The dim bulb flickered uselessly, barely lighting the concrete floor. And then he saw her. Naomi, curled in the corner, arms wrapped around herself, shivering so hard her teeth tapped. Her voice was a cracked whisper in the dark. "Mr. Langford?" Victor froze mid-step. Something inside him shattered. He dropped to his knees and reached for her slowly, like approaching a wounded bird. "Naomi, it's okay. I'm here." The moment his hand touched her arm, she flinched violently, covering her head as if bracing for another blow. Victor's heart broke. Completely. No, Naomi. You're safe." He swallowed hard. "You're safe now." Her breathing hitched. She blinked up at him with swollen eyes. I called. For hours. I thought no one heard me." "I heard you," he whispered. "I came back because something felt wrong." Naomi's shoulders slumped, tears spilling silently. He slid one arm under her knees, the other around her back. She weighed almost nothing. He stood with her cradled in his arms, slow, steady, protective. As he turned toward the stairs, a shadow appeared at the top. Cassandra, hands gripping the railing, face pale, breath shallow. She looked like she was seeing a ghost. Or her consequences. Victor climbed the stairs one step at a time, Naomi's head resting weakly against his chest. When he reached the top, he shifted her gently into the arms of the children. "Stay with Naomi," he told them softly. "Don't leave her side." The children nodded, crying quietly, clinging to Naomi like she was the only solid thing in their world. Then Victor turned, and the man who turned to face Cassandra was not the polite, soft-spoken husband she had controlled for years. This Victor was carved from fire and ice. He stepped closer, voice low and calm. The most dangerous calm she had ever heard. "Do you know what you've done?" Cassandra tried to regain her composure. "Victor, she disrespected me. I was disciplining—" He cut her off with one quiet sentence. "You locked a woman in the dark." The silence was louder than a scream. Cassandra opened her mouth. No words came out. Victor stepped forward again. "You locked a woman in the dark," he repeated, slower this time. "In my house, in my home, in a room with no light, and no way out." His voice grew softer, yet sharper. "She begged you." His eyes hardened. "She begged you not to trap her down there." Cassandra took one shaky step back. Victor didn't raise his voice. He didn't need to. "My children heard her crying, alone, terrified, and you lied. To them, to me, to this entire household." She stammered. "Victor, I was angry. She—" "No," he said firmly. "You weren't angry. You were cruel." Her face twisted. "You're choosing her over me?" Victor stared at her with a disbelief that cut deeper than shouting ever could. "Choosing?" His voice was cold steel. "Cassandra, this isn't a choice. This is the line you crossed." He took a step closer. "You put your ego above a human being's safety." Another step. "You endangered someone who cares for our children more than you ever have." A final step. And you did it while wearing my name." Cassandra shook her head, panicking. "Victor, please!" But he was done. "Go upstairs," he said quietly. "Pack your things. You are leaving this house tonight." Her jaw dropped. "You can't. Naomi could have died." His voice broke for the first time. "She could have died in the dark because of you." Cassandra's legs buckled slightly. Victor didn't look at her again. He walked past her, toward Naomi and his children, without another word. And Cassandra understood. The marriage wasn't cracked. It was over. The entire mansion gathered in the foyer. Maids, cooks, gardeners, security. Everyone pulled in by the storm of Victor Langford's voice echoing down the hall. Cassandra stood in the center, trembling, mascara streaking, still clutching the railing like it could save her. Victor didn't stand beside her. He stood in front of everyone, beside Naomi. Naomi, wrapped in a warm blanket, still pale but upright, the children clinging to her sides like she was the only safe place in the world. Every eye in the mansion was on Victor, waiting for the verdict. He didn't shout. He didn't rage. His voice was low and lethal. "Before anything else," he said, "I want this staff to understand exactly what was done tonight." He nodded at Reggie, the head security guard. Reggie stepped forward, tablet in hand, pressing play. The foyer went silent as the security footage appeared on the large hallway screen. Cassandra dragging Naomi toward the basement door. Naomi pleading softly, "Please don't lock me there!" Cassandra shoving her inside, then raising her hand to slam the door shut. The staff gasped. Some covered their mouths. One maid whispered a shaky prayer under her breath. Victor didn't look at Cassandra, not even once. Instead, he looked at his staff. "This," he said quietly, "is abuse." Cassandra snapped, "Victor, it wasn't—" "Silence!" The word struck her like a whip. He finally turned toward her, his eyes colder than the basement she'd locked another human being in. "You lied to the staff. You destroyed her room. You tried to erase her from this house and from my children's lives." He stepped closer, never raising his voice. "And you thought you would get away with it." Cassandra's breath broke. "Victor, please." "No." He pointed to the security guards. "Escort her out." She jerked back. "What? You can't do this! This is my home!" Victor's face didn't move an inch. "It stopped being your home the moment you imprisoned someone in it." Two guards took her by the shoulders. She screamed, twisting, fighting, her outrage echoing through the marble hall. "This is humiliating! Victor, you're humiliating me!" "No," he said. "You did that yourself." The guards marched her toward the front door. The staff watched silently, some shocked, some relieved, all witnessing the fall of a woman whose cruelty had ruled the mansion for years. When the door slammed shut behind her, the only sound left in the foyer was breathing. Slow, trembling, heavy. Victor turned to Naomi, and the entire mansion seemed to exhale. "Naomi," he said, voice softening for the first time that night. "You saved my children. You protected them. You cared for them when I wasn't looking." Naomi's eyes dropped. "I was just doing my job, sir." "No," he said gently. "You were doing far more than that." He stepped closer, his voice filled with gratitude, not just formal but personal. "As of today, you are no longer a maid in this house." Naomi blinked, confused. "You are the head housekeeper of the Langford estate, full authority, full respect, and full protection." The staff gasped. The children beamed. Victor wasn't done. "Your salary will reflect that, effective immediately. Naomi's lips parted, trembling. "Mr. Langford, you deserve safety," he said, "and dignity, and a home that values you." Tears slipped down Naomi's cheeks, quiet, grateful, disbelieving. Elena, the cook, began clapping softly. Then the gardener joined. Then the butler. Then every person in the mansion applauded the woman who had once been invisible, now standing at the center with light pouring through the foyer windows behind her. Victor stepped aside and let Naomi walk forward. And she did, slowly, with her chin lifted, the blanket slipping from her shoulders as she stepped into the morning sunlight streaming through the open doorway. The children ran behind her, cheering. Naomi stood at the mansion entrance, not a victim anymore, but a woman finally seen, respected, and honored. The staff stood behind her. The sun framed her. And for the first time in her life, she knew she had won. If this story reminded you that kindness leaves the strongest mark, tap like, hit subscribe, and join us for more stories where dignity rises, cruelty collapses, and the people treated as invisible finally step into the light they always deserved.